Hello and welcome to PodCoder. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to localize our Flutter application to support multiple languages according to the latest official documentation. If you already subscribed to the PodCoder channel on YouTube, you know that there is a mini-series showing how to implement a Flutter localization from scratch. Unfortunately, in that series, there are some features, for example, null safety missing, and it is not aligned with the latest official documentation on how to localize our Flutter application. So in this tutorial, we will learn how to localize our Flutter application according to the latest official documentation, which implements some features like null safety. So without further ado, let's start coding. So to start coding and follow along with me, I have provided a link in the video description which takes you to the GitHub account, and here you can select the branch which is called Initial UI Boilerplate and copy the link from there and head over to terminal or whatever source version control you use. So get a clone and paste that link. Please specify the branch which is Initial UI Boilerplate. I'm sorry for my slow typing. It will clone the project. So let me clear and list the project. You can see that it is being cloned, Flutter Localization version 2. I'm going to open it with my Visual Studio Code. And here you can see that this is a bare minimum project, and you can verify that with the popspec.yaml file. You can see there is no dependency and nothing else. So the first thing that we need to do is to install the dependencies here, that minimum dependencies. And you can see here inside the lib, we have the classes which has this language class with some properties and this list of languages which we are showing inside this drop down menu. And also we do have some pages, for example about page. You can see that this does not have anything. And with home page, inside the home page we have first of all this app bar which is here, and also it does have this drop down menu items which is this one, and this looping through that language list and showing one item at a time. And also we do have here a main forum which is this part, and there are some text fields with this button. And finally we do have this drawer list, and this is here. So you can see it is just a simple UI, and if you click on any of these you can see it does not do anything. So there is nothing other than a UI. We do have this not found page, and we have a settings page which is just a widget. That's it. And inside the router we do have a custom router which takes us to some pages, like for example home pages, about page, and we do have this route constants defined here. And inside the main we do have just a material app and implementing the routing, nothing else, without any dependency. I just didn't want to waste your time writing this UI. So let's start implementing Flutter localization. So to do that, head over to the official documentation, and here you can see that this localization is applicable to the material app, Cupertino app, and also if you are doing it in a much lower level, which is the widget app, so this can help you. So to do that, the first thing is to install this dependency, which is Flutter localization. So head over to the popspec.yaml file, and inside the dependencies, just paste it here. Make sure about the indentation because the YAML files are really sensitive about the indentation. once the dependencies are installed, so let me run the project, which will, I'm sorry, I should have not run it in the YAML file, should have run it inside the main. So this will take some time. I will fast forward the video and we'll be back. So now our project is running. So let me come to the code. And here you can see we do have 3 languages. Purposely, I removed the Hindi language to add it again. And to do that, you can add another instance of this language class with its properties. So let me just paste the code that I've copied from other screen. And here you can see the ID is 4. And this one is an emoji. An emoji is basically a special kind of a string that you can show. And to get these emojis, just head over to the Google and write countries flag emojis. And here you will find a bunch of emojis and write the country name, for example, India. And after that, you can see here the Indian flag. And once you're here, you just copy the code from here and paste it. So that's it. And once I have that, if I save it right now, and if I click here again, you can see the Hindi language is being added here. So you can add as many languages as you want inside this language class, and this dynamically will render it inside the main, and which is here in this drop down menu. Great. So we do have this dependencies installed, which is the Flutter Localization, and right now we need to just import the path inside the main file. For example, let me just bring it inside the main file, and after adding that, we can just copy and paste this part, which are some delegates, and I will tell you what these delegates are. Let me I think I'm running the code again. Anyway, let me paste it here and save it. So it is going to take some time for me. Once you paste it, the application and save it, the application will restart. And supported locals, put your supported application locals. So here we support 4 languages: Persian, English, Arabic, and Hindi. So we do have the English. I need to provide the Arabic. So let me remove this part. I'm sorry, I think I broke that. So let me copy here. Let me remove this comment and 2 more languages. So here this one is Farsi and the last one would be the Hindi. Great. So we do have all these supported locals. So you will be wondering what these delegates are. So if you come here, you can see that these delegates are a list of factories that produce collections of localized values. So you have it for the global material localization and also global widgets localization. What does this mean? So first of all, this global widget localization is used for left to right and right to left support basically, and this library or this delegates is used for some material components that you will get by default. So let me show it to you right now. If I click on this calendar, you can see the calendar opens, and by default it is in English language. For example, let me specify the local for this application, and I will going to put that as Hindi, so HI, and the country code is empty. And if I save that and if I click again on this, you can see that is already translated or localized to Hindi language. And for example, if I change this one to Arabic, for example, the Arabic is a right to left language. And if I save that, you can see, I'm sorry, I need to save this one. If I save that, you can see it changes the direction of the application, directly from right to left. I know these are not translated yet, but it's affecting, and that's because of these delegates that are there. So let's move on. And to do that, and to add more localized messages and everything, you need to add the until. And if you want the add once feature, there are some like kind of steps that you can follow and kind of localize all the untils messages as as you want and as you wish to. So let me add this Intel, which we are not going deep inside that. If you want me, let me know. I will be happy to like go much more deeper inside the localization, which takes some time. So yeah, once we add that, we need to add the generate inside the popspeak.yaml file again. So let me copy and paste it here after this flatter. So let me paste it. We do have that. And once we have that, we need to add something called l10n.yaml file. Let me copy and paste it here. So it should be inside the main project, not inside the lib. Just make sure to click here and create a new file. Just call it as l10n, which L stands for localization, and then just paste these values that I'm going to explain what these are basically. So the first thing is that it is a source directory of your localized values, which is inside the lib directory and L10 folder, which we don't have it yet, and also the default template, which is English, and this is also does not exist. And once you have this is the output file that you will have, which is by default called app localizations. So let's create one by one. Inside the lib directory, we are going to create a folder called L10n. And once we do have, we need to create a file which is called app en.arb, which is a Ruby file. You can name this one anything, and the first part is as you wish. Like you can put it as like your app name, but you need to add the like the language code after that, which is English. And also you can add it in this way, for example, add en and us.arb. So this is also valid, but this will take consideration that this is a country code is being added with that. So I'm going to remove this one, and I am going to create like 4 files with the same thing, with the same name but different language code. So the first would be fa.arb, and then I'm going to create another one. So the app hi or hindi.arb, and the last one, I think I forgot to add the Arabic, so ar.arb. So these are 4 files that we are going to use for our localization. So let me save this one, and right now we'll get an error, and the error is right now I think uses material design. I think we missed something inside the indentation I told you before. So we missed that inside the YAML file. Great. Okay, so now once we do have that, if I refresh the application, we get some error, and this is because of that Ruby file, and the Ruby file should have some JSON like this. Inside this Ruby file we need to have some JSON files. I'm going to copy these things from the files that I have, so let me just copy and paste it here. So you can just copy and paste from the code. So you can see here we have like some key and values like homepage, personal info, and there is nothing much inside that. So this is for the Arabic language. Inside the English, I'm going to copy and paste the English. The same way, you can see that the keys are the same, but the values are just translated. The same thing for Persian language. I'm going to copy and paste that. And the last one is the Hindi language, that I am going to copy and paste the values inside that. Once you have these values, right now if I refresh this, and once it is refreshed, the app, you can come inside the Dart tools and Flatter Gen. You will see something called Gen L10, and inside that the first thing you can see is the app localizations.dart. And if this file basically is familiar to you because we named that, right? App localizations.dart that being generated inside this folder. And you can see that this basically implements the localizations, and if I scroll, you can see that it listed all these supported locals with its delegates and generated a key by default for each and every key values inside these files. For example, homepage and everything like that. You can see homepage, personal information, and everything. And also, this file is being overwritten in this, like in each of the other languages. For example, for Hindi, we have app localization HI Hindi, which extends that file and also overrides those keys and provide with different values. You can see the keys are the same, which are being overwritten, and the values are different. So we do have this for each language, but the values are different, right? For Arabic, for everything. So now that we have this one, and you just I think you have observed this part, that we do have this list of localization delegates, and we do have this supported locals defined here. So what we can do is just come along. We did this part. We can come along this part also. We have done that. We can do it right now, but let me show it something to you. And here, instead of all those things inside our material app, what we can do is just first import that app localization from Flutter Gen. And once we do that, let me do it and head over to the main.dart and paste it here. Once I did that, now what I will do, I will going to copy this localization delegates and also supported locals and import it directly from that generated file and paste it here. So let me just paste it here and let me refresh the app, because right now it is complaining about this part, which is saying that I am not able to find. And if it does not work, you can stop and run the project again, which will definitely works. Once you restart the application, you can see those red squiggly lines are gone. And right now we do have a working application, but with less code inside this material app. And you can still verify that it is working, because you can see that it is still in Arabic language. And if I change it, for example, to EN or English, you can see that the direction is changed, plus this component is being translated back to English. So this is how it is going to work. So what about these like changing the language and also applying the localization? So that is also fairly simple. How you can do is that instead of like all these things, there is no necessary for this thing. Here you can access the app localization of context and the key. For example, we do have many keys here: homepage, personal information, and name. Let's verify whether it's working or not. Let's head over to the homepage. Here we do have this homepage. And before that, what we need to do is let's import this app localizations from that gen. So we need to just paste it here. So once we do paste it here, and now we are able to translate these values. So it is app localizations, localizations dot of context and the key. But before that, what we need is we need to verify that it is not null. So we need to paste the home page. So once we do that, this is no longer a constant, and we can save that. You can see still it is home page. But for example, if I come back here and change the language to Persian, you can see that it is changed. And if I change it to Hindi and save that, you can see it is changing, but the rest of the thing is in English. So let me add few more. If I come back here inside the personal information. The same way I can write app localizations dot of context, and then here the personal information. You can see it is also complaining about this constant value, and the good thing about that is we do have the IntelliSense. So if I press the dot key after that, you can see all of our keys are listed here, so we can pick any of this, for example personal information, and now it is translated. What about the functionalities of changing the language from this drop down? To implement this feature, what we need to do is inside this drop down menu button and on change value of this, we need to implement some kind of method to change that. So in order to implement that, the first thing we need to do some change is inside the main, and inside the main we need to change this and make sure that your app is a stateful widget. So we need to create a set local method here. So I already have that inside my other screen. Let me just copy and paste it and explain it to you. And let me paste it here. Okay, great. So I do have this set local, which is a static and which accepts the built context with a new local, and which is first creating or finding the state of the application, which is my app state, and inside that you're sure that this is like nullable and this could be null. So that's why we need to provide this null safety check here. And once we found the state of the application, which we are trying with this context.find ancestor state of type my state, and inside that we need to create this set local method and paste this local. So let me create and implement that. So in order to do that, let me create this local, and this should be nullable by default. Let me create this local, and then we need to create a set local method to set the state of this local. So let me paste the code, and here you can see that we have this set local method which accepts the local and which was called from here. And once we have the local, we are able to basically set the states from here. So unfortunately missing a bracket. So once we do have this local, we can initialize the local here. Let me paste it here, and still if I refresh that, everything works fine, but still we are not able to change the language. The reason is that we are not calling this set local method. So let me go back here inside this change language, and let me implement that. For example, we can check if the language is not null. We can call my app, which is coming from the main here. This is my app. And if I come back inside the home, dot set local, which is a static method, accepts the what they call is accepts the context, and we are passing a new local. So let's create a new local with the language dot language code. And also once we don't have the country code. So let's check whether it is working or not. Let me refresh the application and let me change the language from English to Persian. Yes, it does work. Let me change back to English. Awesome. Let me change to Hindi. Wow. And it is working. But there is some kind of labels missing to be translated, and also the language is not persisted, correct? Because for now it is in Persian language. If I restart the application, it is going to be changed to English again, which is not a desirable feature. So to implement this storage, we need to have some kind of a storage mechanism or local storage mechanism. So the simplest way is to use a Flutter package called shared preferences. Let me add this shared preferences to the dependencies. Once it is there, just get the packages. And to implement that, I have created something called a language constants that I am going to just copy and paste it, and I am going to explain it to you. So let me create this language constants .dart, and I'm going to paste this code. This looks scary, but it is not. Believe it or not, this is not scary. So first, we do have this app localization that we imported. And then after that, we have some constants like this language code, and also this, we can say the language code constants. And we do have this set local, which returns a future local. And what we are doing is we are accepting a language code, and also we are creating an instance of this shared preferences, and we put that language code with the selected language code inside the shared preferences, and we call this local method. And this local method basically returns a new local based on the local that we are passing or the user is selected. And also we do have a getter method here. So the getter method also will create an instance of shared preferences, will get that stored language inside the shared preferences and just return it to the user. And finally, we have created this like translation method, which accepts the built context and will return this value. So this is a handy way, instead of writing all these, what we call is app localization of context.homepage, and then what we can do is we can write the translations and pass the context and then call homepage. So it is currently not working because it is complaining about this. What we need to do is we need to refresh the project to sync the project again. And I found it that sometimes this does not work. What you need to do is you need to close the close your Visual Studio Code and just open it again, which is here. Let me open it. So now everything is fixed, and we do have those methods already inside this language constants, and we can use it. You can see that this translation method worked inside the home page, and it is now a much shorter way to write the and to access these things. So let me just implement it back inside here. Instead of writing all these things, we can write that translation method and pass the context, and instead of everything we can write personal information, which is cool. And now let's implement this persistence, right? So instead of this way, like what we can do, let me close this navigation. So we can define this method as async, and then we can do one thing, create a local variable here, local, which will be returned from so I'll call it as local, and this is going to be returned by that set local, right? This set local will accept the language code, and will return what? Will return a local. So this is coming from this method. So set method will set it inside the shared preferences, and also will return a local, a future local, so we can wait here for it. And once we do have the local directly, we can pass it here inside our set local, which is inside the main. So in this way, right now we are able to persist the selected language. Let me show it to you. We do have the Persian language. Let me refresh that. But it is persisted, but still it is not showing. And the reason for that is we need to implement another mechanism, and that is inside the My App state. Once we run or we launch the application and on did dependencies changed, we need to call that get local method, right? That get local method, which is coming from this file, get local method, which return a feature of local, which is getting from the shared preferences. So to do that, we do have this get method, and once it is run inside the then, because it is a future, once it is completely like finished executing, so we'll get a new local. And what we can do is we can just call this set local, which is inside here, and pass this local. And now we are able to persist this language or selected language. Already you can see after refreshing that language is already being fetched from the shared preferences. So let me change it, for example, to English and restart the application. It is working. Let me change it to Hindi and let me refresh the application. Awesome, it is working. So now what is remaining is to translate these labels, and in addition to that, how we can change this language from anywhere inside this application, for example, from this settings page. So in order to do that, let me head over to the settings page, and here you can see that inside the settings page, unfortunately, we only have this text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just paste some code here. And I know it's like pasting too much code, sorry for that, but it is like kind of helping us from wasting too much time. So let me implement this language, and it is just that drop down that we have looping through these the same items inside that and showing a kind of menu, right? So we do have this menu again here. And now what we need to do is the same way that we implemented inside the home page, this part, we can just copy this part and paste it inside this settings page and bring the main app. And once we do have that, we need to bring that language constants, and now we do have it here. So let me refresh the app and let me go to the settings page. So now inside the settings page, for example, let me change to Arabic language. It is working. You can see already the direction is changed, but as these labels are not translated, you can see these labels are not showing. So let's do that as well. So here, instead of settings, we can call that, oh, sorry, I missed that. So we can call that translations method and pass the context, and then from that we can call the settings, right? So remove these constants and let's check whether it's working or not. I think I need to remove that one bracket. Yes, it is working. Let's try it for this one, which is translation, and then what is called is change language, and let me try that. Awesome, it is working. Now let's try to change it to Hindi. Awesome, it is working. Correct. Wow, it is beautiful. And let me go back to the changes. You can see it is working here, and if I change it to Hindi and go back to the settings, you can see it is in Hindi language. And let's change it from Hindi to Arabic and come back to the home page. Awesome, it is working. Now the only part that is remaining is that, like, changing these labels, and instead of hard-coded value to these translated values, and that's it. And also what you need to do is inside this main method, for the first time that we run the application, you can see that for few seconds this part needs to be loaded, and which takes some time. So you can add a loader here to load for the first time, and once the language is set up, then you can render this part. So this is all for this tutorial. What I will do, I will stop the video, I will implement, or I will put all those labels, translate these labels, and I will just push this code on GitHub. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe to my channel, and also please comment your thoughts and ideas, or your constructive ideas will help me to basically develop what you think it is good, and also I'm ready to accept any kind of feedback. Thank you so much. Have a good time.